Welcome back to Am I Still Dreaming? It was February during a severe cold spell. I became very sick and was taken to the hospital by ambulance where I was put on life support. I then began experiencing vivid dreams while in a drug induced coma and awoke 3 weeks later. When I woke up in the ICU, I was confused and assumed that I had just arrived the night before. I was woken by a nurse and could not help from complimenting her on her beautiful eyes, causing her to cry, as no one had ever said that to her before. The nurse then asked as if I knew where I was, and I correctly identified the hospital, but was unsure of the day. Then the nurse informs me that my husband has been called and is on his way to visit. He should be here soon. No one explained to me what had happened until Steve arrived. I could not believe that I was on life support and put into a coma for 3 weeks, and that they did not think I was going to live. The drugs that caused the dreams while in my coma was affecting me while I was awake. I was hallucinating. Everything that was happening around me, I had to ask if it was real or not. I was not even certain if I was truly awake. My son came to visit me that day when I came out of my coma, and so I shared my dream with him and my husband. I told them about the machine that looks like a child's ride-on toy that they have in the malls, and that it was outside of my room against the wall on the other side. I would point at it and then share what the machine did. But I forewarned them that it was evil. They laughed. I told them, if you put $20 in the machine and pick a piece of paper and put that in, that once it reached $100, the machine would open and a beautiful bird, paper bird, would fly out and fly everywhere, which one had come into my room. Then the bird would poop, which turned into a cocoon, and then open and become the most beautiful butterfly. This butterfly would fly up to the crease of the ceiling, and by morning the butterflies turned into sharp nails. The nurse was thrilled that I had survived and considered me a miracle. They were sharing stories of their prayers and my struggles. One nurse recounted how I would be found clinging to the bed, trying to escape, interpreting it as I was fighting for my life. While the others were sleeping peaceful, I was constantly trying to get out. My family went home to rest, feeling much better now that I was off life support and my chances of surviving were 100%. I was told by my nurse I had many visitors. That family from away came and that they had called daily. The daily hallucinations were becoming more vivid. When my husband and son showed up later that day, I was telling them to close the window in my room, but the window couldn't neither be open nor closed. What I saw was it was summer out and there were hornets coming in, and that I was allergic to them, which they knew. I kept telling them, look, kill them. They were on the wall. They began hitting the hornets and stepping on them, but they could not kill them all. Then my nurse came in and asked why they were hitting at things, and they explained. As they were explaining what was going on, my doctor walked by and heard. She told them that they needed to stop it because I was having a challenging time with what was real and what was not. So they began to tell me I was imagining it. This made me angry because I could see it. It was real. The only problem with the hornets coming in the window was that the window couldn't be opened. To me, it did look like summer, but it was snowing out. My first dream I had while in my coma state was of me in a Mexican hospital in Mexico. And they had me in a special room that was all glass, and outside of my room was a corridor with sick and elderly. A drunk Mexican was brought into the hospital and was behaving rudely. He was making an elderly lady get up from her chair so he could sit. A few of the men took the drunkard outside and sorted him out. When they brought him back in, he did not look too good, but went directly to the lady he was being rude to and apologized. Then a young tanned lady with long black hair entered my room and introduced herself to me. Her name was Sophie, and she was my nurse and told me she came to change me and wash me up. I told her I was having issues with the heat, and quickly she went out of the room and returned with a fan. I could hear those in the hallway asking why I was getting special treatment, and someone among them said, "She has insurance." I was still confused about what was going on as a security guard entered and asked if I was behaving or did Sophie need his help. She told him I was fine and that she could handle things. I told her about a dream I had and that she should not worry, that I was sent there to save her. She laughed and said all is well and told me that she would be giving me my medications when she returned to the medication room. I could hear her voice, but I couldn't see her. And she was telling me over a PA system to my room that my meds have been administered and I might feel a little sleepy and that she will check on me shortly. While I slept, I dreamt more and when of where I was. This time I was exiting the hospital and outside was a beach with a jungle-style forest about 50 feet from the water. Around the back of the hospital, which was the ocean, there was a passenger ship there, either loading or unloading the elderly, crippled, women, and children. I was uncertain about what happened. I just began helping the men with the people. Next, I was back in the hospital in my bed, and a lady carrying her young child was crying out for help. She was seeking a prayer warrior, and I yelled and continued to yell, "I can help, please, I'm a prayer warrior," but she couldn't hear me. Next, all I remember was the child passed, and I was very angry. When I woke, I was back in the Kentville Hospital, and a lot had happened since I went to Mexico. A young nurse was so upset because her boyfriend, whom she trusted, was filming their sex life and posting it online. The priest that brought the machine in was there trying to console her, but he could not. Her friend held her tight and allowed her to cry. There was a TV close by, and her video was being revealed on the television, and then everything froze for what seemed forever. The nurse holding the other nurse, the TV, the people, no one was moving. Then I fell back into my sleep. Each time I woke, something new was taking place. Next was the planning of my death for the $2.5 million insurance my husband put on my life a few months before I fell sick. Many of the hospital staff were in on it for a small price. This is when I really began fighting for my life. See you next time on Am I Still Dreaming?